Hey guys, June Loiza here from Dad Smarter Not Harder. I was on Twitter today and I saw this tweet from Nick Huber that really spoke to me. It goes like this. He says, and he's talking about video games. No worst habit in the world. I think there is a direct correlation with being overweight, lonely, single, broke, and depressed. My kids will not own any video game systems while in my home. And I was like, oh my God. Because I'm a gamer. I grew up playing Final Fantasy VII. I grew up playing Mario 64. Grew up playing Metal Gear Solid. If you can remember those days, man, those are the glory days of video games. And as I'm raising my children who are 6 and 3 years old, I've always thought to myself, when am I going to introduce video games to them? I actually have a Switch right in there, over there, back there in the bookshelf that is just completely unused because I don't have time. I'm prioritizing my work, my family, my wife, my children, sports, working out, and I just don't have time to play video games. So in one sense, I understand, right? Getting video game addiction or playing too many video games is taking away time from everything else. But to not allow it in your household, that seems very extreme. So I was thinking about this and it really reminded me of a quote by Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Coddling of the American Mind. And in that book, he has a quote. He says, "There's an old saying, prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child." And I think this speaks volume. This quote is going to help you, help me, help everyone in terms of their parenting style and what they ban from the household, what they don't allow. So in this case, Nick Huber, when he's talking about banning or not allowing video games in his own home, you have to think about that. What are the repercussions? In this case, Nick is really preparing the road for the child, not the child for the road. Because when you get out there, the child is going to encounter video games. The child is going to encounter pornography. The child is going to encounter sugars and sweets and all these other things that can be addicting. The child is going to encounter drugs and alcohol. I think the question and the better practice here as a parent is how can we better prepare the child for the road? It's not by banning things. We all know when you take things away, they become more enticing. If you don't allow a child to watch TV, they're going to want to watch TV all day. If you don't allow them to play the iPad or play video games, they're going to want to play video games once they taste it. I have a really close friend, and this close friend told me that his wife grew up in a household where they pretty much ate no sweets, no desserts, no sugar. Today, she's almost 40. She eats desserts every single day. Hey, I'm not here to judge. You do you. But I'm just saying, if you take things away from the child, then you're not preparing them for success. I think the goal needs to be to teach them self-control, self-regulation. How are they going to encounter something that's going to be super addicting in their future, whether it be sugars or sweets or pornography, whatever it is? How are they going to control that? There's many ways to do it. I can tell you how we do it here in the household. For example, well, first of all, we don't have video games here either. They do play video games with my brother, their uncle, but that's a separate story. But there's no video games here, but we do it in other ways. They need to practice self-control with their iPad. They know they have a certain time that they can play their iPad. They can work on their letters and their numbers and whatever else that they're working on. My 6-year-old has a coding type of game by Osmo, I think. It's a great tool. Again, maybe I'll review it later on. But the point is, they sit down, they play with it. I actually sit down next to them and I'm working as well. So we actually don't even call it playing, we call it work. Do you want to work with your iPad? Poppy, can I work on my iPad? So we sit down together, my 2 children, myself, we're working. And after a while, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I remind them, hey, a few more minutes because as you know, too much screen time turns you into what? And they tell me, I know, turns us into a zombie. Right, so I constantly teach them. You control your iPad time. Don't let that iPad time control you. And then after a few more minutes, I've done it in many variations. I tell them, okay, it's time. We have to close up. We're done with working. We're going to do something else. And I don't take it away from them. I let them actually take the action of putting it away. They turn it off, they put it away, and they charge it back in their place. Right? So it's not me taking it from them, it's them regulating themselves. Another way I've done it is ask them, how many more minutes do you want? And I have this timer, I'll have to go find it, but it's this blue little timer. And they say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it may be. I set it for 10 minutes. When the alarm goes off, they have to, again, take that initiative and self-regulate, have that self-control to put that iPad away. And it's all practice. Same thing for sweets. Right? Nick Huber, are you going to disallow any sweets in the household? No desserts? Are you a no dessert household? I don't think so. But in the same way, desserts can become addicting as well. You don't ban it from the household so that kids can't use it, but you have to teach them. You have to teach them why broccoli is healthier, why you need to eat your proteins and your carbs and your fats. You have to teach them, and slowly you allow them to learn and make that decision. Poppy, I only ate a little bit of my snacks. I think my daughters came home today from shopping at the grocery store and they were eating Poke. My daughter tells me, Poppy, I only ate 3 of the Pokies and the rest I'm saving for later. That is a gradual process. they don't learn that if you ban desserts completely from them. The same way, they're not going to learn how to regulate if you completely ban video games. So again, in the overall premise, I agree. Any addiction is bad. Video games, pornography is extremely bad for young men. We can talk more about that later. But I just wanted to do this quick response to Nick. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.